Hello, welcome to another video from earnped.com. I am StevieB, happy to have you all with us today. Today, I am on Monria. That is correct, we've flown all the way from the other side of the universe. We were on Next Island for a very long time, as most of you are aware. And then we took a little trip over to Tulun, and we knocked out some missions there. And now we are back on the Monria side of things, headed over towards planet Calypso. So today, you will notice, I am hunting some Yagis. Now, the reason I am doing that is I came to Monria. There's several things I want to do while I'm here. I want to do some things on Monria specifically and make some videos about that. I want to check out some of the new stuff at DSEC 9, make some videos about that. And while I'm here, I had a few free minutes to shoot a video. I've got a lot going on. Today is actually September 30th, so a lot going on, which I'm sure I will fill you guys in on later. But while I had a few free minutes, I wanted to go ahead and shoot a video, because I do occasionally get questions about this specific mission, the Order of the Elder Gods. So if you've watched my other videos, you know this is something I've been working on for a very, very long time. I don't get to work on it all that often, but when I do, I try and really go at it. So what is it all about? Well, this is a mission that has made Monria famous, or infamous, I should say, because if you can find all 4 chapters, then you get a set of horns that you can equip that give you additional reload speed. And this mission is known for being notoriously difficult. Reason being is the drop of the chapters is somewhat random and not easy by any stretch of the imagination. There are people who have hunted literally hundreds of thousands of mobs trying to get a chapter to drop and still are looking for the chapter. So generally speaking, Chapter 1 is supposed to be the easiest, Chapters 2 and 3 are not supposed to be difficult, and Chapter 4 is supposed to be the hard one. So in my particular case, I can say that Chapter 1 was it was a grind, but it wasn't the hardest thing in the world. Chapter 2 I still have not found, which is why I am still hunting Yogs after all this time. I'm actually on Codex repeat number 2. So I've gone all the way through Codex 1 through 26, and then I've repeated Codex 26 a second time, and I'm still going. And keep in mind that I was doing this before Codex was a thing. So that's just how I'm kind of tracking it since the rollout of Codex. Now, I know there's people who have done the Shub Codex dozens and dozens and dozens of times looking for Chapter 4. However, I would not have thought that Chapter 2 would be this incredibly difficult. Chapter 4 is supposed to be the difficult one. Now, what's interesting is I actually kind of gave up one day, and I was like, screw it. It's not even worth it. I'm just going to go do something else. And I went and I was like, you know what? I'm just going to see if I can find Chapter 3. And I went after a different mob, and sure enough, I got the Chapter 3 drop probably within about 5 minutes of making that decision, which was really weird because, you know, obviously I've been doing this for so long, and I didn't even hardly have to try for Chapter 3. I hope that if I someday get Chapter 2 and I go look for Chapter 4, I hope I get so lucky with Chapter 4 that it just drops in my lap that fast. So the question is, why is the mission this hard? Well, when Monria was originally developed, this kind of mission system was built into Monria. It was a different name and a different potential reward, but the system was already there. The actual Order of the Elder Gods mission was there. It just wasn't called that at the time. And when the Monria team purchased Monria, they essentially had that mission renamed, revamped, reworked, and that's when they came out with the reload horns. So they essentially took what was already there, and then they built on top of it. They took something that already existed in the framework of Monria when they made the purchase of Monria, and then they just customized it to make it their own. And there have been people before that have said, yeah, but it's just too hard. Well, I can see that, especially given how hard I've worked to try and get the horns. And, you know, there's some people that have tried way harder than I have and haven't gotten the horns, and there's some people who have barely tried and somehow managed to get all 4 chapters to drop. It's a random thing. It's a random drop. But from the team themselves over at Virtual Sense, they've looked at this before and gone, you know, we get it's hard. We get it's near impossible, some feel. But really, if it's something you want that much, if it's something you're that dedicated to, then you have all the right in the world for it to stay that hard. So essentially what they've come out and said is, A, they can't really change it if they wanted to, because it wasn't something they made. It was just something that the framework was there that they built on. But it's one of those things where there are people who have spent a ton of money, and a exorbitant amount of time making this mission work to finally grind out the chapters and get those reload horns. Wouldn't you be doing them a massive misservice if you actually did make it easier? And I can tell you guys, I know personally several people that have gone through 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100,000 kills on a single mob just to get a single chapter. So if somebody's willing to dedicate that kind of time to it, if they see that kind of value in it, then shouldn't we keep it that hard? And I have to say, I kind of really halfway agree with that statement. Now, when the horns were first like a big thing, one of the things that I noticed back in the day, one of the reasons that I started going after them, is I was looking at this going, okay, what would theoretically be one of the most economical ways to get your reload speed up? Like, if I was to mix and match things in game, what would be some of the most economical ways to do it? And the horns, if you could get them all 4 chapters to drop pretty easily, would have been part of one of those systems, a pretty good complement to one of those systems. Now, with some of the changes that Mindark has made over the past year specifically, the cost of reload speed has come down pretty substantially. When you're looking at just reload speed, when you're not mixing it with other buffs, when you're not looking at 5 or 6 buffs all at once, when you're looking specifically at just reload speed and trying to max it out, the cost has really come down quite substantially over the past year. Not saying that's a good thing, not saying that's a bad thing. I'm just saying it changes the calculus a little bit. So the horns don't seem like as important of a thing to me now as they did back then, mainly because I have options now for in-game items that I didn't have back then. And I have options for in-game items that let me completely max out my reload speed, or things that let me be a slight hair off the max reload speed I could have. Now, that doesn't mean the horns don't have value. It doesn't mean it's not something I want. Like I said, it just changes the calculus a little bit. Now, that being said, for those of you who are wanting to try this mission, who are going to be spending time on Monria, who are going to be going for the reload horns, even if you're not doing it hardcore style, even if you're not going after them every single day, if it's something that you think you're just going to work towards over the next 5-10 years and just see if you get lucky in getting those chapters to drop, let me give you a little bit more information. So the chapters are an actual item that you will loot. It goes into your carried inventory, and there are 4 little pieces, one for chapter 1, one for chapter 2, one for chapter 3, etc. Now, they are tradable. However, you cannot just get the chapters from somebody via private trade and get the horns. In order to get these little check marks by the chapters to light up, you have to actually loot it yourself. So until you loot your first chapter 1, you're not going to get that check mark on the mission. Until you loot your first chapter 2, you're not going to get the check mark on the mission, so on and so forth. So even though they are tradable, they really don't have any value, because of the fact that just getting somebody to hand them to you doesn't do anything. It doesn't update the mission, and therefore you're not going to be able to get the horns. You can get more than one of the same chapter. Doesn't matter. You have to get all 4 chapters to drop. I know people that have gotten dozens and dozens and dozens of chapter 1s. I know people that have gotten dozens and dozens and dozens of chapter 2s, even though I'm still looking for my first one. Does not matter. So when you get them, that first time you get one, keep it. Whether it's chapter 1, 2, 3, or 4, keep it. However, after that, if you get 900 chapter 1s, okay, congratulations, you got 900 chapter 1s. They really don't do anything at that point. It's just extra. It's just, yeah, it's there. So you need one of each, and yes, they are tradable. And I'm surprised this didn't pop up as a scam. I guess it was just too well known that you actually had to loot it yourself in order to get the mission to update. Because this seems like the kind of thing that people would have immediately started trying to sell their extra chapters. Like if they just hunted, Shog endlessly and got 8 chapter 1s. Or maybe it's just that they're that rare and that hard to get to drop that nobody's going to hunt that many Shog and get multiple chapter 1s. But since they are tradable, I'm kind of surprised that never really became a problem. And I guess there's a couple of different reasons that that's potentially true. One being how hard this mission is to do. Number 2 being the rarity of the drops and getting duplicates being such a rare thing. And I guess number 3, it just being so well known that without looting it yourself, it's not going to light up the mission. But for whatever reason, it never became a problem. But just to let you know, even though they are tradable, like I said, it doesn't really matter and the duplicates don't matter. The only thing that matters is you have to loot your first one of each in order to get this mission to update. And then obviously keep one of each as you go through. And eventually you will hopefully someday get your reload horns. So is it something I'm really going to spend a ton of time working on? No. There's other opportunities and there's other things I want to do, other goals. Also, I'm in a different spot today playing Entropia than I was when I first decided to go for the reload horns. If I could have banged out the reload horns, right then, right there in 5 minutes, I really had a huge use for them right then, right there. Now, a couple years down the road, having chapters 1 and 3, but not 2 and 4, do I really even need him as much as I used to? Now, like I said, the calculus has changed. There's just other new in-game items that kind of seem to take their place a little bit better, that seem like it would fit my playstyle better and my needs better. So, would I like to have them? Sure, I'd still love to have them. But, that being said, am I going to go out of my way to come here and just hunt over and over and over and over and over and over? Not necessarily. But if I'm here, and if I'm going to be doing a little bit of hunting, sorry, something caught my eye in Cali Trade. If I'm here and I'm going to be doing a little bit of hunting, then it always helps to have the mission active. Again, this kind of goes to the thought process that we have whenever we're looking to try and stack missions. The more I can stack, the better. So if I can stack Codex with a daily, with a secondary mission, with something else, if I can knock out 7 or 8 things at once, that's so cool. Peg leg. That'd come in handy for a Halloween costume. If I can knock out 7 or 8 things at once, then obviously the more things I can knock out with one stone, the more birds I can kill with one stone, the better, right? Well, this kind of fits into that category. If I'm working on my codex and I'm working on doing a daily challenge, and I specifically have one mob that I like to hunt, and in addition to doing that, I can also have a chance that maybe one of these chapters drops, all the better. So, that being said, that's kind of what I wanted to fill you guys in on today. I do get people every now and then, they will ask me, do the chapters still drop? Can the mission still be done? Yes, it can still be done. Every now and then, you will find on usually one of the Entropia Facebook pages somebody who had a really good day and they got that last chapter to drop, and they'll usually post about it. I saw one just a couple of weeks ago. The thing is, I just don't think there's as many people doing the mission. I think it takes a special type of person to finish this mission, and many players start this mission and just never manage to get it complete, be it from lack of commitment or just from not really feeling that it's that good of a reward to chase after it, or for whatever reason. So trying to find somebody who has completed the mission recently, it is a challenge. It is not something that happens. It's not something that happens every day, but it does happen. So I can tell you the chapters do still drop. People do still get the horns. It's just a little bit of a rare event, given how the mission is set up. So if you want one of the hardest missions in Entropia, I would say this is probably one of the grindiest, hardest missions out there, simply for the fact of it's such a random thing that you really don't know. You could hunt one mob and get chapter, or you could hunt 500,000 and not get a chapter. So that is part of the reason that I think it's so hard to find people that are still actively doing it, still actively completing it. It just takes a level of dedication most players, including myself, just do not have. So I do have a lot of good stuff on Monria that I've been saving in my back pocket for a while now. I've got a lot of stuff in DSec 9 that I've been saving in my back pocket for a while now. I've got quite a bit of stuff I want to get pumped out for you guys. Halloween Mayhem is going to be approaching very, very quickly. This is September 30th, and we're going to be in October in about 18 hours, and then I'm only going to have about 3 weeks to prepare for Halloween Mayhem. So I've got a very, very small amount of time to pump out a whole lot of stuff. And on top of that, still dealing with a lot of personal stuff, which let's hope this nightmare is over very, very soon. Let's hope this is the beginning of the end of the nightmare. So it's going to be a very, very busy time. I do have this weekend off, so hopefully that will let me get caught up on a few things to bash out some content for you guys, and then we'll be off to the races with Halloween Mayhem and Merry Mayhem right thereafter. So for now, I'm going to leave it there. Expect some good stuff coming from the Monria content, the DSec 9 content, and hopefully, eventually, we will end up getting the Order of the Elder Gods mission completed. We will end up getting our reload horns. Eventually, I'm sure someday, we will get Chapter 2, and then we can start the horrendous process of going for Chapter 4. So for now, I'm going to leave it there. Just be on the lookout for a lot more stuff coming down the pipe. Sip, sip, smack, smack. Y'all know the rest. Head over to earnped.com, because when you earn, we earn. That's by far the best way you guys can support us. We know we weren't the first, nor are we the only place that allows you to earn ped online. So when you choose earnped.com, it really means a ton to us. And be sure and hit that little bell icon to subscribe to the channel and get the notifications. And hit the like button on all the videos, even if it's a video you don't necessarily particularly love the topic on, because I guarantee you, there is literally a hater waiting in the wings every time I upload the video just to hit dislike. So we really, really, really count on all you guys to hit the like button to offset those people that are just hating to hate. So sip, sip, smack, smack. Y'all know the rest, and we'll be back with more for you later this week. Take care, Stevies.